Congratulations on this. It was a really great project. The cast seemed to really be into this project. How important was it for you to get a cast that really enjoyed what they were doing?
It's always that thing you try to do, and I'm putting together a movie project. You have an idea for a movie and that, and then beyond the idea, it's like, okay, who's going to be in it? So I'm like, all right, well, I'm a viewer, right? I want to watch this movie. Who would I like to see in it? So my thought always is, I'll come up with an idea for a movie, but then it's like, okay, who could I put in it?
Mhm.
Right. And then I start writing. So I start thinking about the different people. So in this one, it was kind of way important. Clearly, it was important for me to. It's a throwback to the movies I loved in the '70s growing up.
Mhm.
So once I had met, Robert Bronzy Kovacs, I thought, man, if I actually there he is right there. If I put him in this, it gives us that '70s, '80s vibe right off the bat because people go, who is that? So that was a key component. But really beyond that, it was also about putting enough people around him, and filling up the other parts. So getting like Lawrence Hilton Jacobs to come in and play Langley, the agent. Again, he gives us kind of a cool '70s, '80s vibe, but he's doing tons of stuff now too. So he's kind of went through all the decades there. But his first movie was Death Wish with Charles Bronson.
Mhm.
So it just was perfect. I'm like, oh man, he was in Death Wish. He's in this again, gives us connections to the past. And, he was super cool. And then getting Nick Turturro to come in and play the bad guy, one of the bad guys, and to bring that accent and his style to that part really was important because I felt like it gave us, to me anyway, it gives you the mobster, the crook, the bad guy thing right out of the '70s, '80s, '90s, it goes all the way back. So that really helped round it up. But one of the biggest components of the movie was getting Chris Hahn, who used to wrestle as Johnny Paradise, who's a WWE wrestler.
Mhm.
When I met Chris and I knew I was going to put him in the movie, I was writing the script and I thought, how would Chris do this? And I thought, man, he's got to do it like his old wrestler persona. So I had known Chris for several years, so that part was real easy to write. But through Chris, I met Jimmy Lee and the ASWA wrestlers and then all these other wrestling guys. I'd go to these shows and watch these guys wrestle. And I thought, man, look at all their faces. Everybody's a distinctive looking character.
Mhm.
And they do performance because they're performing in the ring and they can do stunts and action. So it was like, wow, get all those guys in to be the inmates and guards and stuff. And then, it's just going to round this out, so it was really the whole package. I mean, for our movie, it was very, very important to get Robert in there, but it was almost equally important to get all the wrestlers in there to give us that, because we're an independent film with not very much money, but we have big aspirations and big action scenes. So that really, Robert, the wrestlers, and then Lawrence and Nick, really rounded out. And then I have the local actors I brought in, that really great local actors, Debbie Scaletta out of Cleveland and Linda Russell out of Columbus, Bo Roberts out of Mansfield. So really rounded it out. I mean, I had a really good cast. And I think everybody was supporting Robert, to build it up. And very important. I mean, this movie needed a cast. It needed the right elements to make it work. And I feel like we got there, or as close as we could get. So
I feel like you did. You mentioned wanting this film to feel like one of the '70s action films, and I grew up watching Death Wish and a bunch of these very classic action films. Which,
or even the Cannon films. Remember in the '80s and '90s?
yes,
All the Cannon movies. It was action and guns and nudity and craziness. Just over the top. So '70s, '80s kind of meshed.
Mhm. What movies did inspire this? Which ones did you want to pay homage to when writing this?
Well, I go back. I mean, as a kid growing up, I loved Mr. Majestic, The Mechanic, Breakout, The Dirty Dozen, The Getaway, Emperor of the North. I mean, I could go on and on. There's so many of them. But I grew up on those movies, and they were really about like a code of honor, Friends of Eddie Coyle, very stylized, but they're very rich in character. Simplest story, simplistic stories with, very interesting intertwining characters, complicated characters. And so growing up on those, I always was like, I wanted to make those kind of movies. Then, so I was kind of formulating this idea for a while of doing this prison escape movie. And I live very close to the prison in the movie, which is the Shawshank prison. So I drive by there and I go, how come I'm not shooting a movie there? You know, I got to use that prison and do a prison escape. So I started formulating an idea for a movie. But then I saw a recent movie. I saw the trailer for a movie called Brawl in Cell Block 99, which is S. Craig Zeller's movie. He did Bone Tomahawk and Dragged Across Concrete. But once I saw his Brawl movie and I saw Vince Vaughn in that trailer, first off, I saw the trailer and went, I got to see the movie. Because I'm like, it gave me that vibe. It gave me that 70s vibe. I'm like, I'm there, you know. So I saw the movie. He kind of knocked it out of the park for me. I'm like, yes, somebody else is doing those kind of movies, you know, the movies I grew up in and I love. So once I saw that, I'm like, I got to do my prison movie, you know. And then I met Robert Bronzi at the Texas Frightmare Film Festival. And we talked about this and I kind of rewrote the film so that it fit him. And, but it all kind of meshed right there, you know. Really was like, I saw Brawl and, you know, obviously I'm a fan of, you know, Escape from Alcatraz and, you know, Dirty Harry and all that stuff. So it really kind of meshed. I'm like, once I saw Brawl, I felt, oh, it's time to do this. You know, I got to go do my prison escape movie. So it's really the old movies then with, you know, Craig Zeller's movie, the new one, the Brawl one. I'm like, it's time, you know, so kind of everything sort of came together for me. And really production, you know, I came up with the idea and literally within about 5 months we were shooting. You know, it was the fastest I've ever made a movie.
That's awesome. And you mentioned, you know, with indie movies, it's a little bit difficult to make, especially when there is so much action like this one is. How was that choreography? How did you, I mean, I guess, first of all, like, how amazing is it to have a choreographer that was able to make all this very safely?
Yeah.
And yet it looks real. It looks fantastic.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, Chris Hahn came in to play the part, but since we were independent, low budget, I said, hey, we've got to do fights and stuff. And I was working out with Chris. Chris is like a personal trainer, and I would go in and work out with him. You know, I was working out for him with a few years. You know, I'd get in there early in the morning. He'd put me through the mill, beat me up. You know, but Chris was in my other movie, Axe Giant Wrath of Paul Bunyan, where he played Paul Bunyan in a big monster suit. So for payback for that, he's my personal trainer. So he gets to beat me up, you know, for 2 hours every morning. But so we were working and everything. And I said, you know, we're doing this movie. And I said, you know, can you help choreograph stuff? And so while we're working out, he goes, well, hey, you know, there's Mickey Scadova's right over there working out. Well, Mickey Scadova is like a world-class, you know, kickbox champ, you know, trainer from, you know, years ago. So I met Mickey, and Mickey plays Nightcrawler in the movie, kind of like the worst guard of the guards. Well, Mickey came in and he became like fight choreography. And between him and Chris, they organized the fights. They took Bronzy for 2 weeks and they rehearsed fights. And then Jimmy Lee and his guys, Jimmy Lee does all these wrestling events. So between those guys, really it was Chris and Mickey, but then Jimmy Lee, they really helped get all the, you know, I told them the kind of action I was looking for. Here's what has to happen. He has to survive. He falls down, whatever. So I gave them beats of action. Then they created the stunt stuff that would happen in the middle. They gave me so much stuff I couldn't shoot it all. I said, all right, well, I only need that and that, you know. So it was great having them because, you know, it's a safety issue. They made it look cool. And once they showed me what a fight, I knew where I could put the camera to make it all work. So it was really, like I said, it couldn't have worked out better for us, you know, getting the wrestler guys in there and then getting, you know, Mickey Scadova and Chris Hahn to get in there and, like, you know, coordinate these fights and do this fight choreography. And so, yeah, it was for an independent film, we had a lot going for us, you know. And of course, you know, I cast all these guys in the movie, so they all get to play a part. Some live, some die in the movie, but so there's crossover. They'll do a performance, but they're also doing stunt coordinating or fight choreography, you know. So it was very, very important to have them on board, and it couldn't have made it without those guys. I mean, we wouldn't have this massive action movie with the fight scenes and prison riots and stuff.
So, was there any obstacles in getting this film produced with so much action in it?
Yeah, the film started out, and it was a bit smaller production when I started because I intended to be a little bit more like Brawl, where there was more dramatic. I had my action set pieces. I knew there'd be an escape. I knew I'd have to do a prison riot, but I was going to kind of subdue it a little bit and lean a little bit more dramatically. But as we started shooting the movie, the prison was so awesome, and I'm like, I have to take advantage of this. I'm shooting this way and these guys are marching through the prison. I'm like, well, I got to come back in here and fight. I mean, I do a yard fight, but I got to fight in here. I got to do gunplay in here. I got to fill this place with smoke, And so once I started in the movie, I saw the opportunities to make it be bigger and, bolder. And so the movie grew. It almost doubled in size. And it really kind of came out of us, it was a lot to do. We had a big obstacle with the prison. It was a great location, but we had to shoot around the tours. It's a big tourist attraction. So the tours would end at 4:00 in the afternoon. So we would start our day at 4 in the afternoon and we'd shoot till 4 in the morning. Then we'd wrap out by 5:36 and now they're coming in to start the tours again. So I'd go like half day and into the night. So I had scenes that were daytime and now it's 3:00 in the morning. So we were shifting lights. It was a bit of a struggle to shoot around that schedule. And it's brutal for the crew, even though you can sleep all day, once it gets to 8 and 9 o'clock at night, your body tells you, hey, it's time to sit on the couch, right? And grab a beer and pizza and watch a movie. So that was really the big challenge, was the hours that we were imposed with. But it was the only way I could get to prison and make everything work. So, we jumped in and jumped into the deep end and learned how to swim pretty quickly. We did come back to the prison for a couple more days of shooting. And I did a lot of green screen stuff. We shot a lot of plates because I knew I was going to do some jail cell interiors and some green screen later. So I made sure I got a lot of coverage and plates and stuff so that I could do inserts and extra shots and stuff in front of green screen to kind of fill it out. And but that was the biggest challenge, was working those hours on the movie and doing that content. You're doing a fight at 3:00 in the morning and you don't want anybody to get hurt. So that was a bit of a challenge. Well, and it slows you down. You have to just take things a lot slower.
Definitely. And it ended up being a fantastic movie. Congratulations on this. Thank you for your time. Like, this was definitely a good movie to watch. It's something I put on at night and was captivated throughout the entire thing.
It's I call it people ask me, what's the movie? I go, get yourself some beer, get some beer and pizza and sit down. You're not going to learn anything about it's not politics. It's not about save the earth. Just get some beer and pizza. Enjoy the movie. We're not going to preach. We're just going to have a good time.
Yeah. And you're rooting for Kovacs the entire time.
Yes, exactly. And you're rooting for people that should probably be bad guys in any other movie, but it's okay, because the bad guys that are bad in the movie are bad and they will pay. That's a rule.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Good speaking with you.